You sit staring at a glowing screen. Your heart is pounding against your ribs. You are watching a blue long-term moving average line cross an RSI indicator, tracking a zero-day option that could cost you everything. Your palms are sweating. Why does your body react to a graph like it is facing a predator? You think this is modern anxiety. You assume it is a normal reaction to risking your money in a volatile market. But the real truth is far stranger and deeply rooted in your evolutionary past. You are not reacting to a financial loss. Are you actually reacting to a physical threat? Money did not exist in the prehistoric world. Your ancestors did not worry about stock market crashes. They worried about starvation and the rustling sounds hiding in the tall grass because their only goal was pure survival. They worried about living another day. How did a brain built for the savannah become the engine for your financial decisions? Your brain is an ancient machine. It is running completely outdated software. When you look at a dropping portfolio, your visual cortex processes the information and sends a frantic signal deep into the center of your skull. It hits an almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Does the amygdala know the difference between a falling stock price and a charging predator? No, it definitely does not. The amygdala acts as your primal alarm system. It immediately triggers a massive release of adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream, shutting down your digestive system to prepare your muscles for sudden action. Your breathing becomes incredibly shallow. Are you preparing to run or fight? But you cannot punch a bad investment. You cannot sprint away from a volatile options market. You are sitting completely still in a comfortable chair, yet your body is screaming at you to take desperate physical action. Your environment demands cold logic. What happens when ancient biology collides with modern finance? You make terrible financial choices. You panic sell your best assets. You let your mental state hijack your financial future because your brain is desperately trying to keep you alive in the moment. You take incredibly reckless risks. Why do we sabotage our own survival? We have to look inside the skull. A Stanford researcher named Brian Knutson decided to scan the brains of people making financial gambles. He placed subjects inside an fMRI machine and watched the blood flow in their brains as they anticipated winning or losing money. He analyzed the raw neurological data. What did Knutson actually find? He found the nucleus accumbens. It is the core reward center of your brain. When subjects anticipated making a profit, this area lit up like a fireworks display, flooding their entire system with a massive surge of dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical of intense anticipation. Are you hunting for food when you trade a zero-day option? No, you are hunting for dopamine. Knutson discovered that the mere anticipation of a financial reward can completely override your rational brain. When your mental health is compromised by stress or depression, your baseline dopamine levels drop, leaving your brain desperately craving a spike just to feel normal. You feel entirely numb and exhausted. How do you get that chemical spike? You take a massive risk. You ignore the long-term moving average. You throw your money into a high-stakes trade because your ancient brain is starving for neurochemical reward and will do anything to get it. You are self-medicating with extreme financial risk. But what happens when the trade goes inevitably wrong? Psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky found the answer. They introduced a psychological concept called prospect theory. They proved mathematically that human beings do not process gains and losses equally, demonstrating that the psychological pain of losing $100 is vastly more intense than the joy of gaining $100. This is a profound cognitive bias. Why are we wired this way? A prehistoric gain meant extra food. A prehistoric loss meant you died. Your ancestors had to be hypersensitive to loss in order to survive the brutal and unforgiving conditions of the early world. We call this powerful mechanism loss aversion. Does loss aversion disappear when you open a brokerage account? No, it goes into absolute overdrive. You become terrified of making a single mistake. You hold on to losing investments for far too long, refusing to cut your losses because the emotional pain is processed by your brain as a literal threat to your survival. Your prefrontal cortex desperately tries to intervene. But who wins the race between logic and fear? The ancient alarm system always wins. When you are stressed, your prefrontal cortex actually weakens. Its connections to the rest of the brain begin to fray, trapping you in a state of impulsive short-term thinking where long-term planning becomes biologically impossible. You lose the ability to weigh probabilities. Are you doomed to repeat your financial errors forever? Look at the work of Robert Sapolsky. He spent decades studying the effects of chronic stress on wild baboons. He found that constant, unrelenting stress literally shrinks the hippocampus, which is the exact part of your brain responsible for learning from your past mistakes. You are actively damaging your biological hardware. How do you escape this neurological feedback loop? You have to recognize decision fatigue. Psychologist Roy Baumeister discovered that willpower and decision-making are physical processes that require immense amounts of glucose. Every single choice you make drains your brain's energy reserves until there is absolutely nothing left for your complex financial planning. Your cognitive battery is completely drained. What happens when that energy finally runs out? Your brain takes the easy path. It stops analyzing critical market data. The rational part of your brain goes to sleep, leaving the impulsive, dopamine-hungry animal in charge of your credit card and your financial future. You wake up already totally exhausted. How do you fight an animal that lives inside your own skull? You do not fight it. You outsmart your own biology. Dr. Peter Sokol-Hessner conducted a study where he asked subjects to use a technique called cognitive reappraisal to reframe their financial decisions as small parts of a larger portfolio. He told them to change their internal narrative. What happened when they changed their perspective? Their physiological responses completely plummeted. Their sweaty palms finally dried up. By simply changing the story they told themselves, they were able to cool down the ancient alarm system and bring their prefrontal cortex back online. They made significantly better and more rational choices. Can you learn to do the exact same thing? Yes, you absolutely can. You must recognize the physical symptoms. You must notice the shallow breathing and feel the racing heart before you ever click that button to confirm a risky trade. You must force your prefrontal cortex to awaken. Am I reacting to a real danger, or am I reacting to a chart? Your brain is a remarkable organ. It is easily confused today. It treats a blue line crossing a red line like a rustling bush on the edge of the dark, terrifying woods. You must be the one to tell it the truth. Will you take control of your ancient mind? When you understand this, everything changes. The market stops being a jungle. You stop treating your finances like a purely mathematical problem and start treating it like the biological challenge it truly is. You regain complete control over your money. You sit staring at that glowing screen. The blue line crosses the indicator. But now, you know it is not a predator waiting in the grass, it is just a chart.